Humiliated at my daughter's wedding, I discovered an amazing secret. Wait, aren't you the one? Jack Thompson stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down his frayed suit jacket. The fabric had seen better days, much like he had. He was proud of how hard he worked as a mechanic in Maplewood, Ohio, but tonight his heart raced with anxiety. His daughter's wedding was hours away, and instead of feeling joy, he was suffocated by the weight of uncertainty. The rehearsal dinner was nothing short of extravagant crystal glasses sparkling under twinkling lights, the air thick with the aroma of baked salmon and roasted vegetables. Jack took a deep breath, scanning the room filled with the groom's wealthy relatives. Laughter echoed as polished smiles exchanged pleasantries. In that moment, he felt out of place, a splinter in a lavish woodwork. "Our little princess is all grown up," Marla, his wife, whispered to him, her eyes shimmering with pride. Jack forced a smile, but doubt gnawed at him. Could he measure up to this world? As he prepared to give his speech, anxiety twisted in his stomach. He wanted to celebrate Sarah's love, but felt a pressing fear of judgment lingering in the air. When it was his turn, he stood before the crowd, his heart pounding. "I'm so proud of my daughter," his voice trembled, "and I welcome you all to our family." But then he overheard a group of the groom's relatives snickering. "Look at him, a mechanic in a tux. He's out of his league," one mocked. Humiliation washed over him, a red tide creeping up his neck. He stumbled through his speech, words collapsing in awkward laughter rather than heartwarming moments. Sinking back to the shadows of the banquet hall, he felt smaller than ever. The proud father had become a caricature of his worst fears. Jack stepped outside, the cool night air hitting him like a wave. The stars above seemed indifferent to his despair as he questioned everything. Was he enough? The next days morphed into a journey, a search not just for hope, but for the truth buried in his family's past. He delved into his father's life, a man who stood tall despite their financial hardships, fought in wars, and served the community with dignity. Jack began uncovering stories, tales of strength that transformed into crumpled hopes in the shadows of their lives. As wedding day approached, he felt torn, clinging to memories yet grappling with the ugly voices of judgment. Marla, sensing his turmoil, took his hands. "You are worth so much more than what others think, Jack. Remember that." In her eyes, he saw the flicker of hope. And as he walked back to the venue, heart racing, he was gripped by one thought: what defines a man? The weight of money or the substance of character? He stood at the threshold, breath catching in his throat, knowing he faced a moment that could either break or make him whole. Before he could step inside, a voice sliced through the chatter. "Wait, aren't you the one?" Jack turned to the crowd, a hush falling like a blanket. This was it. The test. Would he rise or fall? The room was glued to him, tension thick as he prepared to confront the judgment and tell the story of a legacy that mattered. Jack's heart raced as he locked eyes with the voice that had cut through the noise. A tall man in a crisp suit stepped forward, curiosity mingling with recognition etched across his face. The room held its breath, a sea of silent spectators hanging on every moment. Jack braced himself, feeling the sweat gather at the nape of his neck. "Are you the one who fixed that old Cadillac?" The man continued, his tone friendly yet probing. There was a flicker of familiarity, but Jack racked his brain, trying to recall if he had ever met him before. This was not about cars, it was supposed to be about family celebration. The weight of the moment felt heavier than his last repair job. "Yeah, I worked on it a few months back," Jack replied, his voice steadier than he felt. Memories flashed through his mind, hands stained with grease, the satisfaction of turning something broken into something whole. "What is it to you?" "I'm Mark. Brad's cousin," he said, nodding toward the groom, who was now watching curiously. "I heard about your work. You did wonders on that beauty. Restored it just in time for the reunion. Folks were raving about it." Jack felt a hint of pride creeping in despite the anxiety that gnawed at him like a dog with a bone. That Cadillac had meant something to him, a connection to his father and the stories of their past. The chatter from the groom's relatives faded into the background as Jack found himself standing a little taller. The air shifted. A few other guests, drawn by the conversation, started approaching. "You're that mechanic," someone exclaimed, a middle-aged woman with bright eyes. "I've heard your story about the classic cars. That's impressive." Before he knew it, the room began swirling with questions and compliments. Jack's initial embarrassment morphed into surprise. He was being recognized, not for his suit or the wealth he lacked, but for the craftsmanship and dedication he poured into his work. It was as if the universe was pushing against that negative judgment he'd experienced earlier. "I just do what I can. You know, it's about the love in every detail," Jack found himself saying, the words flowing more freely as he glanced at Marla. She was beaming with a warmth that fueled his newfound confidence. With the crowd growing more animated, Jack shared anecdotes of challenges he faced in fixing up old cars and the joy it brought him. Laughter rolled through the audience like waves. They were no longer simply the wealthy relatives of the groom. They were people, drawn together by passion and hard work, resonating with familiar struggles. "Hey, well, what if we took the car out for a spin next time?" Mark suggested. "I can organize a little car show. You could showcase your work." Jack felt a jolt of excitement rush through him. This was a chance to break bread with these people, to show them his world rather than hide in the shadows. "I'd love that." "Sounds like a great plan," he said, laughter bubbling in his chest. Suddenly, the tension that once wrapped around him loosened, like a vice releasing its grip. His identity began to shift as he embraced the story of resilience that had built him. Jack wasn't just a mechanic. He was a creator of beauty and connections, a father eager to step into the light. As the evening continued, the wedding would go on, filled with laughter and dancing, but a new chapter had opened for Jack. Armed with the recognition of his worth beyond the suit he wore, he felt a fire igniting within him. But just as he started to feel grounded in this new identity, a shadow flickered from the corner of the patio. Someone in a long coat was watching him closely, eyes sharp and piercing. Jack's heart quickened. Who were they, and why did they seem so familiar? The joyful noise of celebration faded, leaving an unsettling chill in the air. Was this a new challenge ahead, or did it herald a different revelation about his family's past? Jack's breath caught in his throat as that figure in the long coat stepped into the light spilling from the patio door. The familiar face sent a shockwave through him. It was Roger, his estranged brother, whom he hadn't laid eyes on in nearly a decade. A knot of emotions twisted in Jack's stomach: fear, anger, and a hint of hope all rolled into one. The noise around him faded into nothing. It felt like he was standing on an island, the ocean of laughter and celebration swirling beyond his reach. All those years of silence, of questions left unanswered, loomed between them like a chasm filled with years of resentment and pain. Roger's eyes locked onto Jack, a mixture of regret and something else. Was it longing? Jack clenched his fists, holding onto the remnants of the pride he'd just begun to feel. What would Roger say? What right did he have to come here? "Jack," Roger called out, stepping closer, "it's good to see you." The words were heavy, laden with years of absence. Jack could see the lines etched on Roger's face. Time had not been kind to him. "It's not good to see me," Jack replied, the bite in his voice sharper than usual. "You just disappeared. You left everything behind, including me." Roger flinched but pressed on, his gaze steady. "I know I messed up. But I'm here for a reason. I need to talk about Dad." The mention of their father made Jack's heart race even faster. It had been a constant ache, the memories of their father drowned out by the echoes of unanswered questions and unshared grief. "What about him?" Jack challenged, his voice rising. "Let's find somewhere quiet," Roger suggested, glancing around at the gathering crowd. He seemed keenly aware of being under scrutiny, an outsider at a family event he might not be welcome in. "Why should I trust you?" Jack's voice was cool with disbelief. "Because I know something that can change everything," Roger said, his expression softening slightly. "I wasn't here when it mattered, but I've been looking into things about our dad's past. There are truths you don't know." Jack felt the ground beneath his feet tremble. Truths? What could possibly matter now? After all this time, Jack had learned to accept the shadows of their shared history. Still, A small flicker of curiosity sparked within him. What do you mean? He pressed, battling a swirl of emotions. Not here. It's too public. Just trust me, Roger urged, glancing around nervously. Please. Against his better judgment, Jack hesitated. Family loyalty clawed at him, mixed with rage and confusion. But could he let this chance slip away? Was there a piece of their father's story waiting to be uncovered, a piece that might lead to a deeper understanding of Jack himself? With a heavy sigh, Jack nodded. Fine. Let us talk. As they moved away from the party, the night air felt thick with anticipation. Jack's heart began to race for an entirely different reason now. What was Roger going to reveal? And was it hope or more heartbreak waiting on the other side? The moon shone brightly above, illuminating the uncertain path ahead. Jack could almost hear the whispers of the past calling out to him, begging to be heard. What secret could change everything he thought he knew? They found a secluded corner, away from the sounds of laughter and chatter. The soft hum of the crickets filled the space around them, creating an almost eerie silence that contrasted sharply with the noise of the celebration they had left behind. Jack shifted his weight, his heart pounding in his chest. Tell me, he demanded, his voice low but laced with urgency. What do you know about Dad? Roger drew in a deep breath, his eyes flickering with a mix of emotions. I've spent years piecing together fragments, things I should have told you long ago. But back then, I wasn't ready to face it myself. Jack's frustration bubbled to the surface. So you just show up now, with all this vague talk about secrets? What gives you the right? You walked away from our family. I know, Roger said, his shoulders sagging under the weight of the truth. I was selfish. But this is different. What I found out could change everything we thought we knew about our father and us. Jack's anger wavered, giving way to a haunting curiosity. What do you mean? Just say it, Roger. Roger's eyes darted around as if the shadows themselves were eavesdropping. Dad wasn't who we thought he was. He had a life before us. A life that changed everything. Jack felt a chill run through him. What are you talking about? Are you suggesting he led a double life? Roger glanced over Jack's shoulder, ensuring they were alone. Not exactly. But it's about his past, his choices. I found some letters, some old records. He was involved in something significant, something that put him on the map, yet he never shared it with us. Jack could feel the ground slipping under him. What could possibly be so important that he hid it from us? Shadows of doubt mingled with the lighting of the moon above them. Roger took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. He was a war hero, Jack. But not in the way we thought. There's a whole backstory involving decisions he made that changed his life forever. I think it haunted him. War hero? Jack's mind raced. Images of a man he thought he knew collided with the new version Roger painted. And this is all you can tell me? Just that he was a hero? No, Roger pressed on, desperation creeping into his tone. He covered up something big. Something bad. And I think it ties back to why he left and why he stopped being the dad we needed. Jack felt shivers cover his skin. His eyes narrowed. What do you mean? What did he do? I have a name, Roger said, pulling out a small crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. He hesitated for just a moment, the paper trembling slightly in his grasp. This name could be the key. What name? Jack's voice shot out like an arrow, piercing through the heavy air. Roger took a deep breath, his voice thick with emotion. It's someone from his past. Someone that might not only change how you see Dad, but also might lead us to answers we never expected. Jack felt every heartbeat echo as Roger unfolded the paper. Anguish and anticipation wrestled within him. What awaited them on the other side of that name? What new monster, or perhaps a buried treasure of truth, could rise in their lives? Who is it? Jack demanded, a mixture of dread and hope flickering in his chest. In that moment of silence, the night seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the words that could unravel or stitch together the jagged parts of their family story. Roger met Jack's gaze, heart clenching. The name is William Carter. The revelation hung between them, heavy like a storm cloud, threatening to rain down upon lives already soaked in confusion. Jack's mind raced. What had he just uncovered? With his heart pounding, Jack pushed back the doubt. Let's go find out who he is. Little did they know, their journey was just beginning and the winds of revelation were about to shove them into the depths of heartache and understanding like never before. The night felt thick with tension as Jack and Roger stepped away from the party's joyful chaos and into a darkness that suddenly felt all too oppressive. The cool air wrapped around them, almost reminding Jack of the numbness pooling in his chest. William Carter. The name echoed in his mind, tangling with indelible questions and the dire need for answers. What do you even know about him? Jack asked, urgency thrumming in his veins. He felt the weight of his question. A stranger's name should not feel this heavy, yet here it was, sitting on his shoulders like an unwelcome guest. Not much, Roger admitted, his brows furrowing in thought. Just bits from Dad's past and those letters. But I think he was important. Maybe too important for Dad's peace of mind. They wandered further from the lights of the celebration. A fading chorus of laughter was replaced by the rustling of leaves and distant traffic sounds. Jack's heart beat faster. How could their father have hidden a whole part of his life? All those years of Sunday dinners and family vacations, with a piece of his existence shrouded in mystery. Why didn't you ever say anything before? Jack stopped, his frustration resurfacing. You knew. You could have saved us from all this feeling of betrayal. I know. Roger shot back, hands trembling slightly. But I was scared, Jack. Scared of what we might uncover together. Things maybe I didn't want to face either. Jack sighed heavily, trying to rein in the rising anger mixed with fear. What's worse, Roger? Not knowing? Or finding out something that could ruin everything we thought we had? Roger's silence weighed heavy. In a way, he understood. Every family had secrets, but theirs felt like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. Suddenly, Jack paused, a spark igniting within him. Do you have any idea where we can find him? This William Carter? Roger shook his head, frustration mingling with determination. No, but the letters they might have clued the way. I kept them tucked away, but I can't remember where. Let us just get out of here, Jack said firmly, a new resolve creeping in. We need to dig into this. Find those letters. As they made their way back to the car, Jack's mind spun with images of faces, places, the memories of family dinners crowded with laughter and light, the same family that now felt like a carefully placed facade. Once inside the car, Roger rifled through his bag and pulled out an old, weathered envelope. It looked fragile, the edges yellowed with age. I'll drive. We'll go back home and I can find the papers. Trust me, Jack, this is going to lead us down a path we need to take, regardless of where it goes. Okay, Jack replied, though his stomach churned. We're diving in. The headlights pierced through the darkness as Roger shifted into gear, the road ahead illuminated but uncertain. Thoughts spiraled. Who was William Carter? How could a single name change everything? Just then, Roger turned to him, brow furrowed. You won't hate me for this, will you? I know I kept things from you, but I thought I was protecting us. Jack held his gaze and found unexpected compassion beneath the anger. No, but I need to know. Whatever it takes. I owe it to Dad and to us. That was it. A bond forged in the fire of uncertainty. They picked up speed, their determination revving up with the engine. But the question lingered like fog on a cold morning. Would the truth about William Carter strengthen their bond or shatter it completely? As they sped through the winding roads, the night seemed to thrum with possibility and danger. Jack felt the seeds of hope start to blossom, but what if those seeds bore fruit that was too bitter to swallow? He leaned back, a thought igniting in his heart. At some point, we'll have to confront Dad too, won't we? The silence that followed felt heavy as storm gathering strength. But before Roger could answer, his phone buzzed. The light glowed ominously against the growing darkness. Jack's eyes widened, and he sat up. What is it? Roger glanced at the screen, and his face went pale. It's a message from someone named William Carter. The two brothers exchanged a glance, the charge of electricity crackling in the air as they prepared to face whatever lay ahead. What kind of man would reach out to them now? What secrets would unfold before them? Roger's grip on the steering wheel tightened, knuckles whitening as he stared at the glowing screen. What does it say? Jack pressed, feeling his heart race. His brother blinked rapidly as if trying to erase the message from his mind. It's just a location. An address. He read it aloud, each word dripping with uncertainty. It says see you at Oak Hollow. Oak Hollow? Jack thought for a moment. It was a small clearing near their hometown, a place their dad used to take them for camping trips. It was quiet, almost serene. But the chill settling in Jack's bones warned him that this was no casual meeting. What do you think he wants? I don't know, Roger responded, his voice low. The tension clung to the air like the mist creeping in from the darkness outside. But maybe we'll find out sooner than later. With every mile that blurred by, thoughts crowded Jack's mind. The idea of actually meeting William Carter sent his stomach churning. Why after all these years? Was he really as important as their father's fear implied, or was he just a ghost from the past, someone who had simply slipped into the shadows of their family history? Maybe he has answers, Jack whispered, testing the thought out loud. Answers we need. Or maybe more questions, Roger shot back, eyes still glued to the road. Answers often come with a price, Jack. Are you ready for that? A beat of silence hung between them. Jack tried to picture his father stoic and quiet, the man who had always played the role of protector. The man who had never said a word about William Carter. No, he finally replied. But we can't ignore this. We owe it to him, to us. Roger nodded, but Jack was unsure if it was agreement or a means to steady himself. As the car zipped forward into the night, only the headlights broke the oppressive dark, illuminating glimpses of trees, shadows stretching long on the pavement, and memories flickering like old film. They reached Oak Hollow just as the first wisps of the moon peaked above the horizon. The clearing was untouched, bathed in silvery light. But the air was heavy, and unspoken weight hung around them. Jack felt a tingle at the back of his neck, the kind that warned him he was stepping into unknown territory. Should we call him? Roger asked, voice trembling slightly. What if he doesn't show? No, Jack said, stepping out of the car. We'll wait. He reached out. It's our turn to face this. The brothers shared a determined glance, the shared fear sparking a fraternal strength. Jack could feel a storm of emotions brewing inside: dread, curiosity, and, oddly enough, hope. But before they could settle into the eerie calm of the woods, footsteps crunched nearby. Their heads snapped in unison. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and looming, the moonlight casting an ethereal glow around him. Jack's heart sank as he recognized the square jaw, the sturdy shoulders. This man had the kind of presence that could command an entire room, yet here he was before them, drenched in uncertainty. William Carter. Roger pushed the words out as if testing the air. The man's eyes flickered between them, searching, calculating. You both look just like your father, he finally said, voice smooth but edged with an undeniable tremor. I was hoping we could talk. Jack's heart raced as he took a step forward, desperation coupling with his anger. Why no? After all these years? Because, William replied, taking a deep breath that seemed to carry the weight of years lost. I didn't just abandon your father, I left something behind. Something that belongs to you. The revelation hung thick in the air. What in the world could he possibly mean by that? And how would it change everything they thought they knew about their family? The tension crackled like electricity, and the answers lay just at the tip of his tongue. But what lay beneath the surface? Would they be ready for whatever truth William Carter was about to unveil? Jack's mind raced. The words hung between them like a thick fog that refused to clear. He watched William, hoping his expression would reveal something more, some hint as to what he really meant. The man stood there, searching their faces, seemingly wrestling with the storm of emotions brewing inside him too. What do you mean something belongs to us? Jack finally managed to ask, the tremor in his voice betraying his bravado. William clenched his fists, his posture straightening. Maybe it's better if I show you. He turned slightly, gesturing for them to follow him deeper into the woods. It's not far. Jack's heart pounded louder with each step as he and Roger followed. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out like fingers trying to hold them back. Memories flooded Jack's mind: camping trips, laughter, warmth. But all of that was contrasted sharply against the weight of what was happening now. Are you sure this is a good idea? Roger whispered, casting wary glances at William's back. Jack didn't have an answer. He felt as if they were on the edge of a cliff, unsure of whether to leap or retreat. They arrived at a small, rickety shed. It was barely visible against the backdrop of darkness, half hidden behind thick foliage. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. "What's in there?" he asked, fighting the urge to step back. William sighed, a heavy exhale that seemed to release years of tension. "This is where I kept things safe for you and your father." He reached for the latch on the door, hesitation flashing across his face before he pushed it open. Dust swirled in the beam of moonlight, and Jack squinted as he entered the dim space. Inside, he found a collection of boxes and files stacked haphazardly. "What is all this?" Roger said, his voice barely audible, almost drowned out by the creaking of the floorboards. William began to sift through the stacks, pulling out papers. "Your father never knew I wanted to protect him." He handed Jack a faded envelope. "But he deserves to know the truth." Jack opened the envelope, his hands trembling as he pulled out a stack of photographs. As he looked closer, his heart raced even faster. Images of a family he didn't recognize flickered back at him, children laughing, a woman with warm eyes, and a man who looked strikingly like their father. "Who are they?" Jack asked, confused as pieces of a larger puzzle started to form in his mind. "Your family," William said quietly. "Blood you didn't know existed." Roger's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "We're a family. Our father was the only one." "No," William replied, voice firm but laced with an edge of sorrow. "There's so much more to your father's story than he ever shared. He cut ties for a reason one I can explain, but it's going to change everything for you." Fear twisted in Jack's stomach. This wasn't just about answers anymore. This was about their identity, their heritage. Suddenly, he felt as if he was standing on shaky ground. "Are you trying to tell us our father isn't who we thought he was?" "This is only the beginning," William replied, locking eyes with both of them, intensity radiating from him. "Everything you thought you knew is about to be turned upside down." Jack's mind was a whirlwind as he struggled to process it all. Who were they really? What secrets had their father buried in the past? And as William moved to reveal more from the shed, an unsettling realization washed over Jack. They were about to uncover things they may never be ready for. "What do you think will change if all of this is true?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. William paused, the weight of the moment heavy. "Everything, Jack. It could change everything." As the air thickened with uncertainty, Jack felt the gravity of their journey pressing down on him. He faced the unknown, ready or not. What awaited them just beyond that door could rewrite the narrative of their lives forever. And as he steeled himself for the revelations about to unfold, Jack couldn't shake off the feeling that the past wasn't just behind them anymore. It was rushing to meet them head on. What other truths lay buried, and would they truly be prepared for the consequences of digging them up? The silence stretched like a taut wire, and Jack felt the weight of it pressing against his chest. He glanced at Roger, whose face mirrored his own confusion and dread. "What do you mean, the beginning?" Jack's voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. William stepped deeper into the shed, pushing aside boxes as if searching for something more than just memories. "I didn't just find these for you. There are answers here, and questions that will haunt you." He paused, looking pained. "Your father, he was not just an ordinary man. He was part of something much bigger, something that wasn't he just a mechanic?" Roger interjected, his brow furrowed in disbelief. "What could he have been part of that's bigger than us? Family is complicated." William turned back to the boxes, rummaging like a man possessed. The flickering light from the single bulb overhead cast shadows that danced along the walls. Jack could almost feel the weight of the secrets in the air, heavy and electric. "Damn it, just tell us," Jack shouted, frustration bubbling over. It didn't help that his heart raced, fueled by anger and fear. William pulled out a weathered journal, its edges frayed, and handed it to Jack. "This belonged to your mother." His voice dropped. "She didn't just love your father, she had ties, Jack. Ties that ran deep, dangerously deep." Jack thumbed through the brittle pages, filled with neat handwriting. As the words began to blur together, he caught snippets of memories, names, Dates, everything felt like a riddle he wasn't sure he could solve. And then he read a name that struck him like ice-cold water. Liam? He looked up, his stomach twisting. Why does this name look so familiar? William's brow darkened, the tension palpable. You'll find out soon enough. You're linked to this name, and to family ties that were severed for a reason. Roger stepped closer, looking over Jack's shoulder. Wait, do you think he could be? Exactly. William nodded, his expression somber. What you're both about to discover is part of the reason your father kept you away from this place. There were things he wanted to protect you from, truths that would change how you see the world. Jack's heart sank, dread and curiosity battling within him. And if we find these truths? What if we don't like what we uncover? William searched their faces. Then you'll have to decide what to do with that knowledge. Will you embrace it or run from it? The atmosphere buzzed with the weight of the unknown. Did they really want to dig deeper? Jack's mind flashed with fragments of images, memories he didn't know he had, faces he couldn't identify. What if this journey tore them apart instead of bringing them closer? Before he could voice his fears, another sound echoed in the shed, a soft rustling that stood out against the heavy silence. William stiffened. Someone's coming, he whispered urgently. Jack exchanged a quick glance with Roger, panic igniting in their eyes. Who else could be here? And did they want them to discover the truths that lay within these walls? Hide, Jack mouthed, looking for a place to duck behind the stacks of boxes. We have to see who it is. With his heart pounding in his ears, Jack felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. What awaited them just beyond the uncertainty? And would it change everything they thought they knew? As they pressed back into the shadows, the hatch creaked open wider, revealing the silhouette of a person stepping into the dim light of the shed. Jack's breath caught in his throat. What would this stranger bring into their already tumultuous world? Would they be ally or foe? The figure stepped fully into the shed, the dim light illuminating a woman whose presence felt both haunting and familiar. Her hair was a cascade of curly black locks, framing a face that looked strikingly like Jack's own. He felt an electric jolt of recognition, but it was tinged with confusion. Who are you? Jack blurted out, his heart racing. Jack, it's me, she said, her voice soothing yet urgent. It's Sarah. Silence hung in the air as Jack and Roger exchanged bewildered glances. Sarah? Roger finally managed, his voice a mixture of disbelief and wonder. But you disappeared? Sarah finished for him, stepping closer. I know. I can explain everything. Just give me a moment. Jack stepped back, still in shock. You can't just show up here after all these years and expect us to believe you. But something about her presence pulled him in as though a tether anchored them together through time. Look at him, she continued, pointing to William. He knew I'd come back. He's been waiting for me. William moved forward, his expression shifting from tension to cautious optimism. Sarah, this isn't the time for pleasantries. You know why we're here. The boys need to understand the truth. Jack's breath quickened. What truth? What have you been keeping from us? From our family? I didn't teach you to keep secrets, Jack, Sarah replied, her voice cracking just a bit. I was forced into hiding. It was too dangerous for me to stay. You cannot begin to understand the weight of the decisions I had to make. The atmosphere in the shed thickened like a fog. Jack felt a mix of anger and sorrow, overwhelmed by the sudden surge of emotions. This woman was his sister, a part of the family story he never knew existed. And yet, standing before her, he felt a chasm of years lost, moments that could never be reclaimed. The names in that journal? Sarah continued, her eyes piercing into Jack's. They all connect to a world I had to escape. Committee members, secret operations, even Liam is part of this convoluted narrative. She paused, her voice dropping. He was meant to protect our family. But things got complicated. Complicated? Roger echoed, disbelief etched across his face. People getting hurt is complicated? Look, I know it's hard to swallow. But there's much more at play here than you realize. Sarah's voice softened, radiating a kind of desperate hope. I came back to protect you both, to warn you about what's coming. The tension coiled tightly in the room. Jack felt trapped between anger and wanting to believe her. Warn us about what? There was an edge to his voice, fear lacing his words. What is coming? Before she could respond, the sound of footsteps drew nearer from outside the shed. Jack's heart dropped. Are they here? Sarah turned quickly, her expression sharp. We need to leave. Now. Who is coming? Roger asked, voices barely above whispers. Trust me. There are forces involved that want to control the situation. Forces connected to the truths of our past. Sarah glanced at William, who nodded back solemnly. Jack's mind raced faster than his heart. Would he really step into this unknown territory with a sister he didn't know existed, tangled in a web of secrets? What did it really mean for their family? The footsteps grew louder, and Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. We can't let them find us, he said, fear creeping in. Then we need to go now. Follow me, Sarah urged, taking the lead as she darted toward the back of the shed where a small door lay ajar. But as they moved, Jack hesitated. If we run now, he said, a breath hitching in his throat, will we ever turn back? Will we ever understand what we've left behind? Sarah's eyes were fierce, filled with determination. Sometimes you have to leave the old behind to embrace the new. Are you ready? In that moment, an unmistakable truth echoed in Jack's mind. The world before them was shifting. I could be standing on the edge of a revelation, but fear and excitement twisted together, leaving him breathless. With one last look at the shed and everything it represented, Jack clenched his jaw, stepping forward. What awaited them outside? Would the truths they sought be a beacon or a firestorm? The moment they stepped out from the shed, the cool night air slapped Jack across the face, a stark reminder of the weight of the situation. Shadows danced around them as they slipped into the foliage, Sarah leading the way with a frantic urgency. The chaos of emotions within Jack twisted tighter. He was propelled by dread and a barely contained anticipation. What secrets were buried in their family history, and why had they never been shared? Stay close, Sarah whispered, glancing back at them as they moved deeper into the woods. Jack and Roger exchanged anxious looks, the thrill of the chase igniting an energy within them. The curious hope began to blossom, nudging at the edges of their confusion. How do you know they're after us? Roger shot back, trying to keep pace. You just got here. They've always been watching, Sarah responded, her voice low but firm. They can't know I returned. If they do, it jeopardizes everything. Jack's heart crashed against his ribs as he struggled to absorb her words. Everything? What did that even mean? Did their father's past come with enemies? Danger? From behind them, a twig snapped too loud in the heavy silence, rising a pulse of panic. We have to hurry, Jack urged, adrenaline pushing him forward through the dark maze of trees. They sprinted into the depths of the woods. Every rustle could be an enemy, every shadow could be an ominous omen. They broke through the brush and reached a clearing where the moon hung low, casting a silvery light that illuminated the truth. They were leaving the past behind, yet stepping onto the precipice of an unfathomable journey ahead. Sarah, you need to tell us what's going on, Jack gasped, slowing to catch his breath. What do you mean by forces? She paused, looking at them both, eyes wide with a mix of fear and resolve. You both have to understand, our family is part of something much larger, a network of secrets and power. William wanted to protect our dad from everything that went wrong, but the truth, it never stays buried forever. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The secrets his father held must have been significant enough to leave such traces of anguish across their lives. And that truth, do we need it? He asked, the gravity of his voice matching the weight on his shoulders. Sarah nodded, a fierce determination flickering in her gaze. Yes, it's not just about us anymore. It's about who we are and why we exist. Suddenly, a crack echoed from the brush behind them. Jack felt a shiver crawl up his spine. We can't stop, he whispered urgently, and they darted forward again, the fear of being followed pushing them deeper into the woods. As they ran, memories of laughter and warmth intertwined with new feelings of doubt and fear, creating an unsettling harmony in Jack's heart. Each determined stride moved him closer to something monumental. William's warnings played back in his mind. Sometimes you have to leave the old behind to embrace the new. But what would that new entail? Just ahead, a small cabin came into view, nestled among the trees like a secret only they had the key to discover. "In there," Sarah urged, and they rushed toward it. Inside, the cabin smelled of musty wood and fading dreams. Boxes lay scattered about, tangled together like their family's past. "We can't stay long," she murmured, urgency pinching her features. "There's a map inside my mother's." They quickly rifled through the clutter, searching for clues to their future. Jack stumbled upon a journal, its pages filled with hastily written notes that echoed of a time and a place still unknown to him. He read snippets, piecing together fragments of stories that linked their family to faces he had never known. "Jack," Roger called out, holding a crumpled, yellowed piece of paper. "Look at this." Jack approached, leaning over as Roger spread it across the table. It was a map, tied to the past, but stretching into the present, with a single marking that stood out Okalo. "That's where we just were," he exclaimed, feeling the rush of realization mix with a surge of urgency. What did they want? Dread pooled in his stomach as his eyes locked onto an adjacent note, words scribbled hastily. "They're coming. Protect the family." Their breaths stalled. Whatever this was, whatever their father had hidden, it was only a whisper away from potentially unraveling everything. "We need to find out what this means," Jack urged, his determination rising. Sarah's gaze was steady, strength radiating through her. "Together, we can piece together the truth. We'll face whatever comes." His heart swelled at her words as he realized he was no longer alone. They were a family forged in adversity, eager to uncover the shrouded past. But as Jack turned to grab more of the scattered papers, the door creaked behind him. The shadows shifted once more. His heart plummeted. They weren't alone. The haunting recognition of thunderous footsteps sent shockwaves of terror through him. "We have to go now," Sarah shouted, lunging toward the window as Jack grabbed Roger's arm. In an instant, they were a blur of movement, escaping through the back door into the wild embrace of darkness. They had set out to uncover their family's legacy, but every truth came with dangers they had yet to comprehend. Would they emerge triumphant, united and whole, or would the secrets of the past consume them? Each step into the night thickened the air around them with uncertainty, the revelation of deeper truths yet unspoken igniting a fire in Jack's heart. He'd come to discover what it truly meant to stand tall, to be a father, a brother, a son. And whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. As they dashed deeper into the woods, determination surged through them. Jack could feel the rhythm of their hearts beating as when their journey was just beginning, an adventure filled with hope, danger, and the unbreakable bond of family. Now, more than ever, he knew they were ready for whatever storm awaited them. And it was a storm that would transform everything. This is the moment to show your support. If you loved this story, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive tales that will inspire and transform you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this story alive in the hearts of others. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel, and your actions can make a difference.